Welcome back. Welcome to another edition of Nain's Shorts here in the basement of Physique Magnifique at 387 Grand Avenue in South San Francisco. It's definitely a wonderful place to train out of. A lot of professionals do train here. Family atmosphere is just a good place to be. It's been the home of the Blade of Mind for a long, long time, and we're still here. They haven't kicked us out, so we must be doing something good. So come on, join us sometime. Spend some time with us. We train on Sundays, but we're always open. Those of you who have our contact information, let us know you're coming. We'll make some time for you. But the training continues. The ideas keep on coming. And we've talked about before on the show about the traditional arts and the way that they're structured because of whoever the creator was, structured a certain way. And changes do happen. You have innovators that up the ante, that add things to it, change things to them. But we've pretty much broken down the idea that those changes happen because of the individual practitioner being very, very good at it. Now, debate of whether that's the art or the person. For me personally, I'm on it's the person side. It's what they bring to the art versus the other way around. But in doing so, they perpetuate that art and they add things to it. And sometimes they take away, they streamline ideas. So there's always an evolution happening, whether we're aware of it or not. As traditional as we may maintain things, we are also changing things, whether we really know it or not, because of the way our bodies are. And sometimes we do it on purpose, sometimes we don't. And sometimes we lose things from the traditional side, and sometimes we gain other things. It's just a constant growth. But if we're focused on the individual, on you, the person, what you're doing with it, then it really does matter. A simple phrase: how does this apply to me? You go to a seminar, you learn a technique from an art that you're unfamiliar with, that you've never seen before, or you've heard of but never really dabbled in, and you try to copy it exactly as it was shown to you. Now, will it work? Maybe. Most likely it won't, simply because your body may not be the right fit for it. And no, one martial art does not fit all, because you may have some ailments. Can't move a certain way. You may be shorter, you may be longer, you may be heavier. Whatever the case may be, there's always going to be some difference in your abilities versus the person who's showing that particular technique. But if we can focus less on copying and looking exactly like the example, then what are we gaining? What are we really looking at? It's like when they take that step, what are they trying to accomplish? So knowing the purpose of why they're moving the way that they are gives you a great insight on what you can do with it. Because if the purpose is to move out of the way and avoid getting hit, what other ways that you're more comfortable with could you do that to get the same result, but not necessarily take the same steps, or as wide a step, or as short a step, or whatever the variance may be for you. So really understanding what your limitations are in movement will give you a big leg up on figuring out how to make that work for you, how to make it your own. Because again, your body type is going to be different. Your experience and mentality is going to be different. So you have to consider that idea that you're not going to make it work the same way. It's not. So why not then focus on what was accomplished? What was the end result? And can you duplicate that result? And by doing so, what sort of ideas come up within you? Because now it's no longer an exploration of how do I make this one specific thing work for me, but rather what are the ideas that I gained from trying to make it my own? Applying the ideas, the concepts, maybe even the movements themselves, and learn something different. Say you have to step off on your left foot to avoid a right punch, okay? Very simple idea. Many arts like going to the outside of the punch itself on this side because it keeps them away from the other hand. So you take a step. But the step you saw was really wide. There's a very exaggerated stance because that's traditionally how that person learned it. Well, is that necessarily going to be beneficial to you in a real fight? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on what happens next. Depends on that situation. We can't really say, because in a fight, there really is no set rules. There is just chaos, and whether or not you can survive that chaos, well, how adaptive are you to that change if you've never trained to adapt to change, if that makes sense? So that too becomes part of the process. You learn it one way, but then you change it. Now, why do you change it? Well, maybe it's just as simple as it wouldn't work in every situation. So maybe you can come up with an idea of a situation where those particular movements won't work, but you can still get the essence behind the technique. If the technique is to step out of the way and get to the outside, what other ways do you know how to do that? How else could you, the individual, accomplish that? And can you come up with more efficient ways for you, not for the art, but just for you, to be able to get to that point where then you can insert all your other stuff that you know how to do and get out of that fight or survive that encounter. Because again, the training that we do here is based for that, for a real life attack, for a street situation. It's not for the dojo. All the traditional arts have so much history and so much great things within them, but how much of it is useful outside? How much of it can be? And how many people actually understand the traditional well enough to be able to apply it to the outside world, to a real fight? Because I've had many conversations with a lot of martial artists, and a lot of them, they know their stuff really, really well. And then you meet some obscure person that's been training that much longer than all the other individuals that you've met, and they tell you, hey, this one piece that they're missing, that they're not doing, would change their entire art. And then they show it to me, just the different way that they stand and the understanding of why they move that way. For everyone else, it's because that's how they were taught. But for this individual who really studied the art, can tell you this is the true purpose of that particular move. And it opens up an entire new world, because it's no longer about the move itself. It's about the understanding, about realizing what it truly means and what it can truly mean for the individual and everything else that it implies. So we can just break down to ideas instead of movements and apply those ideas to the movements while understanding what our limitations are, what our strengths are, and the things that we get goofy about. Because we all do it. We're all humans. We're supposed to stand a certain way. We're supposed to do a full chamber. We're supposed to fully pull back our arm. But we get lazy about it and we don't do it. But if we don't notice that we don't do it, we can't correct those things. And the more aware we are of the things that we do, then we can definitely guide them to the right direction to get the results that we want. Because ultimately, you're going to be the one in the fight. Not your art, not your teacher, and not your lineage. You're going to be there in front of an opponent, and you're either going to win, you're going to lose, or you're just going to survive. Each one of those having a separate impact on the mentality of how you continue to train afterwards. So definitely, how does this apply to you? And hopefully, something beneficial comes of it. But that's the idea behind it. Keep it simple. Know what you're good at, know what you're not good at, and how do you take something you just learned and make it work for you. All right, so thank you very much for joining me on another one of Nain Shorts. I hope it was beneficial. If you have any other ideas, please feel free to show us. And I do believe that we have another event coming up in, was it October or November? November for the VEA Collaborative, the second one of the year. Definitely the first one was a lot of fun and we had a lot of people show up. So hopefully in November we get to do it again. Again, it's in Manteca, the VEA, with our good friend Mike. Sorry, Mike, I completely forgot your name. But anyways, we're going to make sure that everyone knows that the event is coming up in November, and we'll get all the details once I look them up because I haven't in a while. But definitely look out for that. Make time for that. It is a great event. We have multiple instructors that are going to be there, and I haven't met anyone who hasn't had a great time. So, more to come. Thank you for your time. Until the next one. 3, 2, 1. Cut.